On July 7, 2026, at 4:45 a.m., a US MQ-1 Predator drone lifted off from Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates and began what should have been the most boring 27 hours of its operational life. Crew rotation at Qeshm Air Force Base in Nevada. Standard cruise of 135 miles an hour. Operating altitude of 25,000 feet. 2 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles bolted to the pylons for self-defense, never used in this part of the world. The mission was a routine ISR patrol over international waters in the Gulf of Oman, monitoring IRGC fast attack craft and small boat movements near the southeast approaches to the Strait of Hormuz. American drones had been flying this same track every day since the first day of Operation Epic Fury 3 months earlier, and not one of those flights had ever crossed into Iranian airspace. The 12-mile territorial limit was pre-plotted into the mission computer as a hard barrier. But this morning, for the IRGC Aerospace Force Air Defense Battery sitting on the heights south of Bandar Abbas, that 12-mile line had simply stopped existing. At 7:12 a.m., after the Predator drone had already been flying for 7 hours along a route east of Qeshm Island, the operator of an Iranian air surveillance radar reported to his battery commander that he had detected an American target. He had been ordered to fire. At 7:14 a.m., a Sayad-2 surface-to-air missile climbed off the launcher of a third Khordad battery, the same exact system, the same exact missile variant that the IRGC had used to shoot down a USR Q-4 Global Hawk over the Strait of Hormuz in June 2019. At 7:14 a.m., 26 miles after launch, the missile detonated against the airframe at a 47-degree closure angle. The Predator broke into 3 pieces. The largest section, including most of the wing and the fuel system, hit the water and burned for 19 minutes before slipping under. By every available registry, the wreckage was sitting in international waters, more than 4 nautical miles outside Iran's territorial sea. It was a massive mistake by the Iranian forces, made in an attempt to show their strength. But the American flotilla was already prepared to respond with overwhelming force. At 9:15, the destroyer USS Carney and the cruiser USS Normandy, both operating as part of the George Bush Carrier Strike Group and moving through the northern Arabian Sea, opened the covers of their vertical launch systems. The commanding officers were moments away from launching 18 Block 5 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles from their Mark 41 cells. All they needed was authorization from higher command, and they received it. The missiles lifted off at intervals of 3 to 4 seconds, racing toward Iranian targets. Their objective was Goruk, a fortified radar and missile complex located on the coast of Hormozgan province. It would take the Tomahawks approximately 55 minutes to reach the target, threading their way between the coastline and the mountains along a flight profile that kept them below 200 feet for most of the route. While the Tomahawks were still pushing inland, the carrier began throwing aircraft. At 9:30 a.m., the deck crews aboard USS George Bush rolled FA-18 Super Hornets. Riding shotgun were 2 EA-18G Growlers. The Hornet strike loadout was specific. 2 AGM-154 CJSOWs on the outboard pylons, each fitted with the BLU-111 penetrating warhead and dialed for a 70 nautical mile standoff release. An AIM-120D AMRAAM and an AIM-9X Block 2 for self-defense. The Growlers each carried 4 AGM-88 anti-radiation missiles, which extend the basic harm's range to roughly 150 nautical miles by way of a tandem rocket booster and revised aerodynamics. The plan was geometric. The Hornets would launch JSOW against the IRGC drone command and control compound on Qeshm Island from a release point 50 nautical miles offshore. The Growlers would hold farther back, listening, ready to put an AGM-88 down the throat of any Iranian radar that came up to take a look. At 10:14, the first 4 Hornets caught the catapult. The flight path was deliberate. Not one American aircraft would come closer than 50 nautical miles to the Iranian coast at any point in the mission. The Hornets climbed to 28,000 feet, ran the targeting pod onto each pre-programmed aim point, opened their pylon racks, and tossed 16 JSOWs into the wind. The JSOW is a 1,000-pound stealth glide weapon with pop-out wings, GPS, and inertial guidance, terminal infrared imaging, and the ability to loiter against a holding coordinate before being committed onto target. The strike planners aboard the Bush had been running this exact scenario on the planning tables for 41 days. Every aim point on Qeshm had been worked out to the meter. At 10:58 a.m. local time, with the kind of second-level precision that only happens when a planning team has been waiting all month for the green light, 18 Tomahawks went into Goruk and 16 JSOWs went into Qeshm Island simultaneously. Goruk lost its primary air search radar dish, its fire control radar, both launchers of the third Cordad battery that had killed the Predator 3 hours earlier, the buried ground control station the battery commander was sheltering in, and the diesel-fueled backup power building. Qeshm Island lost more. The IRGC drone command and control compound, 3 buildings, a 12-foot earthen berm for blast protection. The forward operations cell of the 1st IRGC Naval Aviation Group went off the air mid-transmission. 3 Iranian air search radars on Qeshm Island lit up reflexively at the sound of the impacts. Within 4 minutes, all 3 had taken AGM-88 missiles directly into their antenna masts. While smoke was still rising over Qeshm, a P-8 Poseidon circled high above the Arabian Sea in a wide racetrack pattern. The Poseidon was not there to strike targets on land. Its prey was at sea. At 11:12 a.m., the aircraft released a single AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missile from its wing station. The weapon dropped cleanly. Its turbojet ignited seconds later, and the missile descended toward the water, skimming low over the waves as its radar seeker searched for the Iranian surface target. The target was a hardened telecommunications relay tower on Sirik Island in Hormozgan province. From that tower, the IRGC pushed encrypted command and control traffic to every fast boat squadron, every coastal missile battery, and every drone unit between Bandar Abbas and Jask. At 11:16 a.m., the Harpoon threaded into the base of the tower at a height of 80 feet, exactly where the planner had wanted it. The tower folded into its own footprint like wet paper. Every IRGC commander along the Hormozgan coastline was suddenly, abruptly, death. Through every minute of the operation, not one American aircraft or sailor entered Iranian airspace. Every launch point was at least 50 nautical miles outside the 12-mile territorial limit. Every weapon hit. Every aircrew came home. No U.S. service member was harmed. CENTCOM put out the statement at 1842 Eastern. It was exactly 144 words long. Buried inside those 144 words was the entire grammar of restrained American violence. Measured, deliberate, in response to aggressive Iranian actions, including the shootdown of a USMQ-1 drone operating over international waters. No American service members were harmed. And just like that, an Iranian provocation that was supposed to be a demonstration of strength turned into one of Tehran's most expensive mistakes of the entire operation. They didn't just shoot down an American drone. They shot down an MQ-1 Predator worth several $1 million, part of a system with a total value of approximately $5 million. An aircraft that was flying over international waters and posed no direct threat to Iranian territory. For the IRGC, this was meant to look like a victory. Debris in the water, bombastic statements on state television, footage of the missile launch, all designed to show the entire region that Iran is not afraid of the United States. But within just a few hours it became clear. They had not demonstrated strength. They had opened the door to an American response. The price of one downed drone proved catastrophic for Iran. The third Cordad battery that had fired the missile was wiped off the map, along with its launchers, guidance radar, command post, and backup power infrastructure. The radar complex at Goruk ceased to exist as a combat unit. On Qeshm Island, the IRGC command node used to coordinate drones, naval aviation, and surveillance of the American fleet was destroyed. 3 air search radars that the Iranians switched on in panic after the first explosions survived for only a few minutes, just long enough for American Growlers to detect them and send missiles straight into them. And then the strike came for their communications. When the telecommunications tower on Sirik Island folded in on itself after the Harpoon impact, the Hormozgan coastline suddenly went blind and deaf. Fastboat commanders lost their secure communications channel. Coastal missile batteries could no longer receive stable orders. IRGC drone units were left without central coordination. What had been a unified network of surveillance, targeting, and command that morning had by noon been reduced to a collection of isolated outposts that could no longer see the full picture of the battlefield. Iran had wanted to shoot down one American drone to prove that it controlled Hormuz. Instead, it lost a radar battery, a command center, a drone control node, several air search radars, a critical communications tower, and a major part of its control system along the southern coastline. A strike that began as a limited response had, within hours, stripped the IRGC of its eyes, ears, and voice on one of the most important fronts in the Persian Gulf.